Two new colourful bilingual books for children are on the bookshelves this month. Have you seen the turtle and what happened to Goldie? These are the latest editions, the Little Detective series written by Chew Lee Ching.
She is the author of several bilingual books and believes that these will help more children pick up languages much better. And for more, she joins us in the studios now. Lee Ching, welcome to the studios and good to see you here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us something about the inspiration behind these books.
Well, The Little Detectives is the second series. The first series is called Baby King and Friends. I wrote it during the COVID lockdown. And at that time, my little grandson arrived. So because he couldn't mix around with other people, he developed a certain kind of stranger anxiety. So he was rather shy, right? And we were trying to coax him out of it. And the best way we thought was, why not write a story for him about making friends? How easy it is to make friends, and it's good to have lots of friends. So we decided to, do it in 2 languages.
We're just looking at some pictures of the book cover right now, your book that you've just mentioned there.
Yes.
So you've got English alongside Chinese.
That's right.
Just as a process, do you start writing from English and translate after, or do you independently think of the images in your head and then write it in English and then write it in Chinese? Because Chinese structures thoughts very differently from how English does.
Some of them I started with English, but for some of the stories I started in Chinese because all these stories are based on real life events. So for example, the third book, I think it is about Fly Ollie Fly. That is about the little owl that fell. That story appeared in the Chinese newspaper. So, the origination of the story was in Chinese. So that's how it started. But for the other stories, like Mr. No-Tail, which is a real-life no-tail crocodile in Sungai Buloh, it was in English. So it depends.
Lee Ching, you've had great success with writing this book and getting your grandson to also read along with you. That's been such an important process. I mean, what are your hopes for the popularity of such books? When we live in this era of, iPads and mobile phones, the pressure is on.
That's why you have to be intentional. You've got to start early, because once they get onto the iPad, you won't have a chance. So when you start them early, I think you can develop that love for reading and the love for languages. And really, in producing these books, I wouldn't be able to do it if not for the support from the Lee Kuan Yew Fund for Bilingualism. They helped me, and that's how I managed to do the books. So, and I think you really got to start them early. Otherwise, it's very difficult. How kids, after a while, they will say, no, I don't want to learn Chinese. But if you don't start early, there is no other way. And one of the best ways to really encourage little ones to learn a language is through stories. And when they enjoy the stories and they think that, yeah, this is fun, I don't mind. So it allows the parents to bond with the child, and in the process, there's nothing like, sitting with a child on the lap and reading a book with them. And you find that kind of closeness is very precious.
All right, as you say, there's a lot of things grabbing a child's attention. The tendency is to go for the iPad above a book. So to get a child to even read a book, that's a challenge in itself. And as you say, this cry, which I also hear very frequently, I don't like to read Chinese books, right? To read English, bad enough. Is it challenging? If they say, well, it's fine, why don't I just read the story and learn the values in English? Why do I also have to read exactly the same thing in Chinese? What do you say to a child who says that to you?
I think there's a different way of looking at values, right? When you do it in English, and there are certain words that you just cannot translate at all. But when you read it in Chinese, you find that it adds a different level, a different layer to the meaning. And it allows the child to say that, hey, I remember grandma says this too, And so that sort of, helps them pick up that language faster. And honestly, languages is actually a life skill. And it is so important, really, to get it right from the beginning.
It starts off as fun, as you said earlier, and that kind of breaks the barrier for kids perhaps, but it does get more complex as you go along with language, and intensively so, in fact. So can you still ensure that you're going to be able to develop that proficiency for reading and that love of reading? Is that part of the process?
I think when you do it through stories, it helps. And that's the reason why I write my stories as a series, so that they can follow. In the first series, it's about the adventures of Baby King. So you follow the adventures of this little kingfisher as he goes from one place to another, how he learned new things, make new friends. And I think you must have that hook to make them want to follow. And that's the only way, I think, to encourage them to follow the story. So yes, it is not easy, but I think with some encouragement, and if you make it fun, they will do it. And that's the reason why my books are so colourful.
All right, thanks so much for joining us this evening, writer Chew Lee Ching. Thank you.
Thank you.